The title of this video is The Spiritual Secret to Trusting Fully. In a previous video titled The Best Spiritual Path, which goes into depth on the topic of surrender, I mentioned that trust is linked to surrender. The more deeply you are surrendered, the more you have deep trust. And the more you have deep trust, the more you are surrendered. This video continues where the previous one left off. So if you haven't seen that one, I suggest you do it, as it's a foundation, not only to this video, but for your entire spiritual journey. The subject of trust is a challenging one, since, especially when life and the people in it so often fall short of expectations. It's easy to build walls and to try to protect yourself and keep your heart guarded. But what if the deepest form of trust has nothing to do with anything outside of you, including people, but it has everything to do with your soul? You see, trust in the spiritual context relates to your relationship with your deepest soul and all of your spiritual connections with the divine. And this is directly related to how surrendered you are. In other words, to what degree you have awakened to your true nature, which is the soul, and how much you've integrated that truth into your everyday experiences. I'm referring to who and what you truly are, beneath the emotions, beliefs, and judgments of who you think you are. Because most people think they are their personalities, or their emotional reactions, or their judgments about other people and themselves, or maybe what they own or what they control. But where does all that go when this life is over? So who are you really? What are you? What lies beneath all the surface perceptions of your life? There's a whole other aspect of you that feels and lives in happiness and fulfillment. And you know how you know this is true? Because you've touched it at times. You can feel it. If you've ever felt happiness or ever felt fulfillment, that indicates that there is something inside of you that can feel that. And if this were not true, then you could not have ever felt it. So this is not just an idea in your mind. It's an actual reality of who you are. This is actually who you are at your core. And that's what's known as your soul. The painful aspects of your life are memories from the past. And those are like recordings from your past that play in your mind. Or maybe they just run in your subconscious. But they are definitely not your soul. And the soul is a part of you that knows all of this to be true. And it is what impels you to discover it. It's urging you to seek it. It always has been. So this is why you are looking for meaning and purpose in life. It's why you're looking for solutions and explanations. The curious aspect to this is it's always been with you, but below the surface, but always sending you messages to connect with it. And in many ways, it's actually easier than you might think. But it does require a commitment, because you've become so deeply engaged with the memories and emotions in your mind, including your pain and struggling and suffering. And these two latter elements are what cause you to have difficulty connecting with that peaceful, fulfilled, happy soul that lies beneath the surface. There is a way to find the soul that I'm speaking about. And actually, all spiritual traditions speak of the necessity of surrendering. Surrender means letting go of what the mind is engaged with. The mind is totally convinced that what it has observed through the five senses is actually all that is real and true. So it concludes, happiness comes through getting rid of pain and acquiring things. But even when a person is in a state where there's seemingly little or no pain, and the person has a lot of possessions, they still feel something is missing. So the answer must lie in letting go of or surrendering what the mind is doing and its faulty perceptions that relentlessly drive you to get more. And what does your ego-driven mind and personality want more of? Well, there are four basic categories. It wants more information. It wants more things. It wants more control. And it wants more unconditional love. And it never thinks it has enough. The ego personality-driven mind has a hunger for more because in its perceptions, which are disconnected from the soul, there is something missing, but it doesn't know what it is. It certainly doesn't know how to get it. But it thinks by acquiring more of everything, it will finally make it feel complete, fulfilled, and have peace of mind. In many ways, that's what it wants. Well, more than anything, it wants peace. So in order to find what's missing, you must surrender what is blocking you from the answers. The idea of surrender is something quite foreign to the mind because it actually opens doors, but they're doors into the realm of what is unknown to the mind. And this is because surrender, by definition, is letting go of what is known. And this means entering into new territory and the unknown. And that stirs up some deep fears within the mind. However, the unknown is only unknown to the ego-analytical mind because it only gets its input from the five senses. The deep essence of who you are is actually the soul, and it knows all of the unknown territory quite well. In fact, the soul is not unknown, and nothing is unknown to the soul. But in almost every case, the mind pushes the soul out of the picture by its insistence that only the five senses tell you what is real. So in order to discover the soul and its nature, you must go beneath the analytical mind to discover it. And surrender is that process. It's what takes you home. It is how you reconnect. As you surrender, which includes giving up and releasing all fears, you'll start to reveal what's under that, which is a beautiful, peaceful, happy, loving soul core of yourself. The deeper you trust the surrendering, the deeper you discover the soul. The deeper you surrender, the deeper will be your trust. The deeper your trust, the deeper you will be in surrender. In fact, deep surrender means you are in deep trust. And deep trust means you are in deep surrender. Surrender doesn't mean that you're giving up anything that you wouldn't want to give up. It's mostly about giving up fear and other painful perceptions. Surrender really just means you're awakening to the soul below the surface. There's something inside of everyone motivating them to search and explore, and it motivates them to seek experiences even when they don't know what direction to look. This is where trust and surrender come in, to guide you to the next step of your life and guide you through all the rough waters of whatever life brings to you. You don't know what's going to happen the next day or even the next minute, But for the most part, you trust everything will be okay. If you have deep trust, you feel secure and at peace without knowing for sure what is coming. And this is because you trust that the soul is orchestrating your life. Why? To evolve you, even when you don't understand or like the current situations. Without understanding what is happening or why it is happening, when you are surrendered, you know you have a force guiding you to discover the next important realization. And by surrendering, you dissolve the uncomfortable circumstances and allow more of the soul to surface to bring you more positive experiences. I'm going to pause here for just a few seconds because I know this is a lot to take in. And it might even sound complicated or maybe difficult to you at this point. But I can tell you that once you cross over the seeming obstacles, it becomes natural and even automatic. So just be patient at this point. I'll lead you through some methods to help you in a few minutes. But I want to give you a little more background and understanding first. Trust is not like flipping a coin into a wishing well and hoping for something good to happen. But sometimes people use the word trust like the word hope. I trust things will work out. Or if they're maybe a little bit more in tune, they'll say, I trust it'll work out if it's for my highest good. Or I trust it will work out if it's God's will. But those usages of the word trust are really hope, not trust. Hope is usually based on a fear that something might not work out the way you would like it to go. So it's really like a superstition, because hope is not owning your power and precludes your being deeply in touch with real soul trust guiding you. So you need to ask yourself, in what ways do you react that are different from believing that the universe, God, and your soul are taking care of you? Acknowledge there are parts of you that don't yet believe that you are taken care of. And the evidence of this is why you worry. It is why you get angry or why you get depressed. If you really had deep trust, you'd not have any of those reactions and you'd live stress-free. So let's start working on this. What do you do in situations that you don't like? What is your most common reaction? Is it anger? Is it worry? Is it anxiety? Or maybe you feel defeated and you contract. You get discouraged. You get depressed. What do you do in situations you don't like? So think back in your memory. And as you recall a situation where you felt a negative emotion, pay attention to your body. Attune to or listen to your body. Where do you feel tightness or contraction? Pay particular attention to sensing what's going on in your chest, your throat, your stomach. These are the three areas where people usually feel some form of resistance. Sometimes you're so used to holding tension, you don't even realize you're doing it. I can assure you, if you have negative emotions of any kind, you're going to have a reaction in your body. So even if you aren't sure, you can assume there are some tightness in your abdomen, particularly in the upper part of the abdomen, where the solar plexus is, which is right under the rib cage. So this begins to get you in touch with where trust is not operating. So with your attention on your upper abdomen, say to yourself, I am willing to surrender and release the need for feeling frightened by the unknown. I am willing to surrender and release the need for feeling frightened by the unknown. When you succeed in releasing fear of the unknown, you simultaneously connect with what comes under the unknown, what comes under the words of the surrender request, which opens up a space for you to become aware of something deeper, a beautiful reconnection with your divine core essence, which is your soul. And when you sense the presence and connection with the soul, it brings an automatic sense of peace and safety, wholeness, completion, security, satisfaction, and a very deep form of trust. When you successfully surrender, you will feel the emerging sense of everything being okay. Ask yourself, can I feel relaxed regardless of what is going on? Be a deeply caring friend to the part of you that feels fear of what might happen or could happen. Whatever negative reactions are most familiar to you, scan your memory. Maybe being fearful, or memories of being angry, or maybe memories of being guilty or feeling guilty, or being afraid of someone or something. And just acknowledge its presence and use. Use it as a doorway, knowing that beneath this doorway of pain is your soul, waiting. The soul is a whole other aspect of you that feels and lives in happiness and fulfillment all the time. So this is not just an idea, but it's an actual reality of the nature of your soul. The painful part is like a recording playing in your consciousness. So it feels like it's part of you, but it is not you. It is a recording, and therefore it can be neutralized and deleted. No, whatever questions, fear, guilt, anger, or discouragement that comes up, they are simply painful identities asking you to heal and release them and create space for trusting your own soul to take over. I'll repeat that. Whatever questions, fears, anger, guilt, or discouragement that comes up, they are simply painful identities asking you to heal and release them and create space for trusting your own soul to take over. When you really know this, you can open to the beautiful, precious soul essence within you, and there's nothing else you need to do. It's really just a matter of allowing and opening space and a willingness to let the truth of the soul emerge. And here's the key. Observe the emerging soul without expectations. Simply have a relaxed opening to receive the experience of your own deeply peaceful soul. Say to yourself, I allow the emergence of the peace and light of my soul. I allow the emergence of the peace and light of my soul. I trust and relax into the soul presence where trust lives. I trust and relax into the soul presence where trust lives. Most people live in their thoughts and in their mind, and that's what holds them in separation from the divine soul presence. When your mind analyzes the words, it is using a defense mechanism to keep you from going to the soul. You see, the mind doesn't know the territory of the soul, so it wants to keep you away from there. The mind is afraid of what is unknown to it, and the soul and divine presence are unknown to the rational, analytical mind. Now, of course, no one wants to feel pain or fear or anger or guilt or depression. And yet these reactions seem to arise with a mind of their own, often when you aren't expecting it. And the mind believes there's little you can do about these negative reactions since you think they are you. You are so familiar with the negative parts of you, the painful memories, the challenges and struggles and disappointments, the suffering, anger, and discouragement. They seem like what is natural and normal to be human. I say it's time to meet the real you, and it's always ready to emerge and expand. I'm speaking, of course, of the soul. Deep trust is the quality that lets you have a relationship with your soul and the presence. In turn, deepens your trust. You could say the depth of your soul connection and integration reflects the depth you are in trust. The soul is 100% trust. So give yourself permission for the soul presence to emerge more and more fully. Say, I give myself permission to feel my soul. I give myself permission to feel my soul. I trust my soul deeply. The easiest place to feel the soul is through your heart center. And as you merge with your soul in your heart, you'll be opening and expanding. You'll open the heart space to allow a greater presence of your peaceful, life-filled soul to emerge more and more. Now, gently now, hold an intention to invite the soul presence to become more present. As you descend deeper into yourself, to uncover the soul presence that's waiting for you to discover it. So acknowledge you are open to receive and expand the light of the soul all through you from head to toe. The idea and the impulse, even the very thought to look within, comes from a part of you that you are seeking, your soul. That's what gives you even the idea to look for something. It gives you the awareness to seek to connect with and merge with your own deep truth or soul. Most people are oblivious to it. They never give it a thought, so they don't have any awareness of it. And yet the truth is, you are the soul. That's who and what you are. You are not all the programs of struggle and fear and anger, needing, wanting, controlling, guilt. As you realize the living soul presence that operates in you and through you, you'll find that you can actually sense it and feel it. The soul of you is free. It is happy. It is loving. It is expanded. It is even euphoric at times. And it brings you feelings of being complete and content and deeply peaceful. In time, this completely overtakes you and it becomes you. And for it to be you, you only have to practice asking for it to emerge. Trust and surrender are opening and receiving qualities, opening you to receive, experience, and awaken to your deepest true being. Say to yourself, I open to receive my soul presence, and I receive trust. I open to receive my soul presence, and I receive trust. And just take a moment to feel yourself connecting with your soul. Your soul knows you are going to be one with it in time, but it will not force the process. What does that feel like? Well, the feeling is a little bit like imagining that you are being embraced by a soft angel of love and peace. And just imagine how safe and healing this feels. When you say, I trust, there will be an inner presence that emerges. So say these words. I acknowledge the presence of trust. I receive trust. I am trust. I acknowledge the presence of trust. I receive trust. I am trust. And even if you are not fully aware of the soul connection in the moment, it will still be there. So the time you're putting in the session is planting seeds that will fruit later in your life. Trust puts you in a different place from your normal, everyday, distracted mind. Even the idea of trust is soothing. It's a really nice idea, isn't it? It sounds good. It feels good. But it's more than sounding good and feeling good. It's an energy, and there is a quality of trust that is transformational because it says, you know, inner guidance is in charge of your life. So you are surrendered to being guided by the will of your divine nature. So in regard to something that you want, you would say, I am surrendered to the outcome, and I am in trust. Now, to help you understand something important about trust and surrender, bring to mind something you would like to manifest. It could be anything, a new job, a relationship, health, money, or some item, some new thing. And you hold it in your mind. And so you'll say this, even if it doesn't make sense to do it, say to yourself, I surrender the need for this, and I trust. Now, here's a paradox. The paradox of surrender. Surrender itself is filled with paradoxes, and this is one of them. The analytical mind will think you are letting go of what you want to manifest. But what you are actually doing is letting go of all forms of resistance that surround what it is that you desire to manifest. So as a result, you open yourself to receive the gifts of your desires, and you're open to all forms of positive manifestation. Surrender releases and dissolves the forces of negative creation and opens you wider to receive the forces of positive creation. So, even if you are surrendering the need for something good, you can still invoke forces to allow you to receive greater goodness and blessings. Either way, no matter what you surrender, it can only work out for your good. Say the words of surrendering the need for things now, and then just hang out in surrender. Say these words: I surrender the need for this, and I trust. And feel the space and the feeling of what trust is. Trust forms a bridge, fulfilling the need behind the form. In other words, the needs are the peace, love, contentment, happiness, fulfillment. If you have these, then the specific form of the outcome your mind thinks it wants doesn't matter as much. But the space that trust opens makes even the form more fulfilling. Even if it turns out not to be the specific form you were picturing or thinking you wanted, it will be what you need. And ultimately, it works for your greater happiness and spiritual evolution. This is because trust tunes you into the wisdom of your divine soul presence. So trust really is not surrendering to an unknown. It is a commitment to acknowledge inner goodness in you and in others with regard to your relationship with them, and the inner goodness is what will prevail. Trust is not surrendering to an unknown. It is a commitment to acknowledge inner goodness in you and also in others with regard to your relationship with them. And that inner goodness will ultimately prevail. You'll feel more relaxed, more available to be who you are with trust. So let's apply this. First of all, sense an awareness of your soul radiating from your heart center. Now you could imagine this like a warm, glowing light, like a small sun about the size of a baseball, with radiant golden and white light in your chest. The soul is actually all through your body, but it's easiest to connect with it through the heart center. So even if you aren't aware of the soul, be assured it's there and it hears your every thought and word. So bring to mind a person that you've had a trust issue with. And imagine that the person is sitting across from you. Now, from the place deep within your heart, extend your soul to encompass the person across from you. And now, speaking inwardly and silently to the person or the situation, say, I am in trust. Feel it coming from the deepest part of your heart, from your inner goodness and God presence. And acknowledge that presence. You're not connecting to the personality or a situation, but to the soul and divinity that lives within the other person and within every situation. Give yourself some room so you can feel this when you say, I trust. So with the person in mind who's created some difficulty, you simply say, I trust. The dynamic that takes place as the soul settles in and begins to reconfigure all of the energies, and not only in you, but in the relationship. Be open to filling the person and the situation with light, happiness, freedom. And while you're doing that, you're not trying to make that happen. You're just opening up space and trust to allow it to happen, allowing for the greatest good to manifest. And the last step is, no matter what comes to mind, embrace any self-talk or doubt or questions with the words, I live in trust. By surrendering all resistance and invoking trust, you're bringing in new light and new consciousness to the situation. So be trust, and let that be the new power in your life. When you are in deep trust, you'll feel a timelessness. You'll feel a continuous sense of being complete, and of course, oneness. And you'll have deep appreciation. Feel the presence of trust, and know that you are trust. And then go back and listen to my previous video called The Best Spiritual Path, which goes into more depth on the topic of surrender. And it's going to have deeper meaning for you now that you've heard about deep trust. This is such an important topic. It's foundational to all of your spiritual evolution. And I have a whole section on my website. I'd like you to go to it and take advantage of the resources I've put there. It's under the free resource tab. You click on that, and then under that, click on the soul. And it'll take you to some videos and some interviews that I've done on the radios, shows, and other podcasts. And it'll take you into some information on the soul and connect you with some other resources. Probably the most useful one audio program that I have is called Soul Merge. And it was something I developed myself to connect with the soul in as deep a way as possible. And you'll find that listed there as well if you want to buy that. So until next time, may you be blessed with trust and love and light always.